What's up? It's Zax from Ready Check Pool here again as usual with Jim Fro. How you doing, Jim?
I'm doing fantastic.
Me too. Thanks for asking. Uh,
How are you doing?
and I'm good, dude. Because we're here today with a shit ton. I mean, with a lot of WoW news, like a ridiculous amount. But also, more importantly, we got a special guest. Wait, I'm not supposed to say special. With
Very
a with
special.
a with a cool guest, Undad TV. You guys probably know.
What's
What's
up,
up?
man?
What's
What's up,
up, man?
guys? Good to be here. Zax
Yeah.
and I been playing for a bit together. This is awesome to get on here and just talk about some stuff.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, if you guys don't already know Dad as he goes by, by the way, that's gonna be a struggle. I don't think people envision want to call you Dad. I don't
Sorry,
know.
I've been renamed Jeb already, man. It's fine.
Jeb. Yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah.
running with it.
We
BDGG
got
Jeb.
Jeb and Robbie and
What the
yeah, I don't know how that happened, but we'll
Because
come up
like
with something.
Jeb is like everybody's dad, man. He's just like everybody's like dry humor, not funny
Oh,
dad.
that's
Like,
where
so
it
I'm
came
Jeb.
from. Okay, I get it. Jeb. But yeah, Dad's a streamer on Twitch. He plays WoW, obviously. He's one of my favorite WoW streamers. He's on the rise. Just got partnered slash sponsored slash I don't know what to call it with Big Dumb. I don't even know what they're called. Big Dumb Gaming Guild, Big Dumb Golden Guardians,
That's it.
something
Yeah.
like that. And yeah, so he's on the rise, dude. You probably already know him, but whatever. But yeah, we got all kinds of stuff to talk about. If you're watching live as usual, send in the chats, the comments, the questions, and we'll hit them up as we go, or save them to the end, or I don't know. We'll see how this goes. But yo, randomly a huge week of news in the WoW beta world, because good old Ian just came out with, I don't even know how he did, like separate interviews and group interviews, and I don't even know, but he just dropped a whole bunch of like information bombs all at once yesterday, or like a couple days ago. So we had a lot to talk about there, and yeah, we're gonna talk about Dad and how his WoW thoughts go and how we vibe and all that stuff. But I don't know. We got a lot to talk about.
All we
So
gotta say is good morning, Zax. Good morning, dude. How are you feeling right now?
I'm getting there, dude. I'm still winding up. We're making it work. I have the worst sleep schedule that I could possibly have.
After you did
But
so well, man. It was like you were doing
yeah,
so good. Like you shifted it back. Like you had the schedule, and then the snooze button fucking got you, dude.
dude, yeah, it got me like 17 times in a row. That was bad. But now, dude, it's lining up because I'll wake up right before the expansion launches at
That's
7
fucking
p.m. or something.
that's fucking wild.
I totally planned that out. Yeah. But yeah, we still waking up. Yeah, those interviews came out of nowhere for sure. I mean, I don't know. Okay. Let me introduce our guest a little bit more. Okay. So, Dad, as we know, we just had the Keystone Masters tournament that you casted. Was that your
Oh
first
yeah.
time like casting an event like that?
So Keystone Masters hosted a thing at the end of BFA that I did a little bit of casting for. It was like they called it like their weird effects tournament where they forced teams to like never repeat. Like each player could only play one spec once. So you could have like somebody could play Prot Warrior, but if you wanted to play Prot Warrior in the next dungeon, you had to have somebody else play it. So they had me do
Oh,
the analysis for that tournament. So like in between the games, I would come in and me and a friend of mine, Sinadochi, alongside Tettles, did most of the analysis for that. But then they asked me back just because I've been playing a lot of beta, as many of you guys know, and they wanted somebody to cast who's been like just involved with everything going on beta and would understand the dungeons well. So Sierra reached out to me for that, and then yeah, so it was my first time casting like the actual games as opposed to
oh,
analyst work, and it was super fun, man. I was so happy to get into like an all day kind of being engaged instead of waiting between matches to talk. It was way more fun. I loved it.
yeah, that was dope for sure. Loved watching that. I was like looking forward to that. I don't know, like normally I don't look forward to I don't even look forward to the MDI really, but for some reason, just like a beta tournament was like just sounded so cool to me. Just like maybe people were gonna play some crazy specs. Maybe we'd see some survival hunter.
Yeah,
People
yeah, I
discover
was hoping,
the
man,
meta.
but we didn't quite get one. Yeah, those tournaments are awesome. Sierra's done a great job alongside. It's been Sierra and Moofs primarily. alongside a girl named Shine, who I don't know if everybody knows. She's more behind the scenes. She does stuff. And then actually anybody who played Legion Mythic Plus might recognize Mitt and Marv from the old
Yeah,
Epic
yeah,
squad
yeah.
back then are involved in it behind the scenes. So it's a good squad, and we always get some nice casters involved too. So it's really fun.
That, that was fun to watch. Faux show. But whatchamacallit? Did you watch any of that, Jim?
I was, busy with a newborn, so I hadn't. I was planning on
true.
it, but then things fucking flipped over sideways, so I didn't really get a chance. So one thing I did, I did like is that it's usually typical of the WoW community to to have a better design tournament than a Blizzard sanctioned one. Like no fault to Blizzard, but like usually like the community like knows, they know, like, all right, we're kind of sick of seeing fucking unholy DK, 2 rogues and a warrior, with a druid, like everything, like we're sick of seeing that like every single time. So them having rules that mix things up a little bit, I love that. I think that's fucking great. I wish that they would give us like some type of private server where we can go on and pick our affixes and shit. Like that would be really great.
Yeah, they did that for the one on live that wasn't on beta. They worked with Blizzard to get KSM access to the tournament realms and stuff. So that was really
Awesome.
dope for the most recent one. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's like all ex players. Like everybody running it is all like an ex MDI competitor. So there's definitely a lot of
Yeah.
insight into what makes a tournament good from both the player's perspective and
Well,
now
like,
the
let's be
caster's
real, like,
perspective. It's awesome.
Like Mythic Plus like tournaments they're kind of stale at the moment because it ends up being like you watch one one match, one I don't even know what to call them, one round, and you've seen them all, right? Like, so it's like,
Yeah,
it's kind of like watching Rubik's Cube tournament. It's like you can get it a little bit faster, but you're still watching the dude spin the cube. It's not.
it's one of those. It's one of those tournaments they've done like I think they've done a pretty poor job of making it interested for a more casual audience, right? Like if you play the game at a high
Exactly, yep.
level and you understand the difficulty of everything that these players are executing, it's intense and it's really entertaining. But for anybody who doesn't play at like the top, like literal top 1%, not like 1% memes, but like actually playing at that very top level, I think it's difficult to give a shit because it's just like what am I even looking at? Like why
And
do
this
I care
recent
about
tournament did a really great job at making it so that there's someone who I don't know, but probably not Ellie Shaman, but there's a chance that Ellie Shaman gets brought. There's a chance that it's not going to be 3 fire mages. So if I play an arcane mage, maybe an arcane mage gets brought, or there's a chance at that. And maybe if you want to try to get some skills for yourself or look at different things happen, it's kind of like reminds me of when Dota and games like that started having bans where you could just ban a few heroes, and now it makes it so that the whole fucking gamut opens up because 3 heroes get banned or whatever, right? And if they did that in these tournaments where it's like, oh, you know what, we're banning sub rogue, or we're banning outlaw rogue, or whatever, each team gets 2 bans of whatever spec they don't want in there. I think that would be fucking awesome. I think like stuff like that would be really great.
Yeah, I like the experimentation for sure. Because like even like I don't know if people like super keep up with the balance and whatever all the moods going on with beta, but one of the surprises for watching that tournament was Boomkin, which maybe that's like more common knowledge than I think, but like I feel like Boomkin has been like the most memed spec in beta, where it's like they don't get a change for 17 years, and then the only change they get is a letter, and like they just don't, their spec got redesigned, and they just keep getting nerfed. Everybody's like losing their minds about Boomkin just being terrible. The fall of Boomkin, we're doomed. We're doing tank DPS, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh wait, we're uncapped. So we just win. We just pull the whole dungeon and we win. It's like the Boom
Yeah,
King
can we
just
talk
pops
about
off out
that
of
for a
nowhere.
second? Since like this is a good segue. Like, what are your thoughts on the some classes are capped, some classes are uncapped, some are good at 2 targets, but so are the ones that are uncapped, and then the ones that are uncapped are also good at everything else? Like, how do you feel about that situation going on right now?
I think that they had a chance They had a chance to make it okay, but it seems like they've just implemented the caps, and then that was the end of the thought process. It's just like like when they introduced them, they communicated that they were planning to make cleave specialists or low target specialists or whatever their goal was. But from everything they've done on beta, they haven't really followed through on that. There's kind of just if you're uncapped, you're better than a class that's not capped, and that's kind of the end of the story. Um, my personal perspective, I don't think it's a good idea to begin with, even if they were to
You don't like any caps?
no, I think at least not any cap as low as they are right now.
True.
Because previously to this, every class was capped at 20 targets. Like nearly every ability is 20 target capped anyway. And then it starts to either square root or meteor. Basically, each additional target doesn't actually add more damage. The damage is just split between more targets. That's been a thing already. So I think bringing the number down to like 5, 6, and 8 is just ridiculous. It just it's going to make the
Yeah.
MDI tournaments very one-dimensional. I think on live servers, it won't matter as much. It'll be, like, frustrating to play, but I think as far as overall meta and how well you can do on live servers, I don't think it's gonna matter as much, but it's gonna make MDI even more one-dimensional and boring, I think, because 'cause you're just gonna bring cap classes, not that's
True.
it. Or
Yeah.
uncapped classes, rather.
Yeah. That's why I was like, it's kind of funny, like, in terms of like dungeon balancing or whatever. Maybe it's just for beta, but you saw like the general like meta, I guess, for this Keystone Masters tournament was like two uncapped classes or marksmanship hunter because it's just insane, and then a rogue. And like it doesn't
Yeah,
matter. It's like
yeah.
kind of like how in DI or whatever, like pushing keys normally goes, where you have the rogue that does the mechanics, and you have two like DPS pumpers. Like, can
Well,
we
yeah.
see something like a little different? Like, what's going on here?
So that brings up like two like separate points, right? Or separate parts to the question. So it's like you have the cap versus no cap, right? So it's like if they were able to make it so that, there's some specs, like let's say like Pharaoh Druid or Assassination Rogue or whatever, let's say like or Arcane Mage, like they're really great at single target. And then there's, maybe a warrior spec and a couple other specs like a Frost Mage that are super good at cleave. And then there's classes that excel at, anything over that, like, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But right now, it seems like the classes that are good at single target are also good at cleave, which are also uncapped and also good at everything. And then there's just some people where it's like, hey, we're pulling these, whatever. And it's like, oh, shit. And then it's like, we're going to pull this extra thing. And your damage just doesn't go up. That is like, that's super like sad, is like, the boomkins keeping up with you on the one pull, but then when you pull three things, they just fucking take off. See you later. And so those are split into two like actual problems. It's like cap versus uncap, or like the way that they're doing it is like just weird.
Yeah, and the fact that it's entirely arbitrary. Like it's just there's no reasoning for like which specs get capped at which numbers. You just have to like trust in Blizzard balancing, which is not a thing that you're allowed to trust in.
Yeah,
So
if it weren't for
a random number.
the couple, like there's a couple melee outliers, but it seemed like they tried to make it so melee is capped and ranged isn't, and that was like
Yeah.
the take they were trying to, which like okay, but I don't know. I think the whole thing just follows like a trend that they've had for the past two expansions where they make their balancing job harder for themselves by introducing things that aren't necessary. And that this is just another example of that.
True.
Like they implement something that they think they can make work well as like a new idea because they're trying to keep the game fresh or different or something. But instead of making the game feel fresh, they end up making it feel more restrictive and they make it harder on themselves to balance the game. It's kind of how I
Dude,
look at it.
that's like a I don't know what the word is. That's a good summary, I think, for like most of the bad stuff in Shadowlands. Where it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you have such like ridiculously cool like Legion 2.0. It's Legion, but we fixed everything possibility like potential. Where it's like, oh my god, this expansion could be amazing. Everything looks amazing, it sounds amazing, the raid looks dope, the classes, whatever. But then they just add in these little things that are like, yeah, you can't change conduits or something, it's
Yeah.
like whatever. And you're like, what? Where? Like, where did that come from? Why? Who? No, why do you? Is that like a lore reason? I don't know. We've talked about this so much on the podcast. It's just like there's so much potential going on with Shadowlands, and yeah, they just do like some little like
Wait, hold on, Zax. What is the lore reason for I'm a frost mage, I now specialize in fire, and that soulbind doesn't know me anymore? Like, what is that? Like,
I don't know.
what lore does that come from? Is what I
I
want
was
to know.
I was thinking it's like I was thinking it's like, you got the soulbind like magic tablet thing that like whatever, I don't really understand that thing, but the conduits are like they're like little magic rocks that you have to move around, you have to put the magic rock into the slot yourself. And that's why it's like they want you to be at the thing and it like I don't know, I'm trying to make something up, but then I was like, why doesn't your soulbind guy just move the rocks for you if it's like literally a physical
Boy,
limitation?
he's
I don't
not the
know.
mall walker, okay? Like only the mall walker can move the rocks, bro. And you only can move them if you have enough rock energy.
Yeah. Also, why does some world boss have a magic rock that increases my ice lance damage? Why? What sense does
How
that
did you
make?
get that, man?
Yeah, what does that have to do with my ice lance? It was a
And why did we
magic
just
rock.
find out about this 15 years later?
Yeah, like I don't know. There just can't be a lore reason. You know what I mean? It has to be
Yeah.
some contrived, like just
Well, the
this is
most
how we
lore
feel.
bullshit is the fact that all the covenants are working together, but not enough to where they can, welcome us in if we're hanging out with the other ones,
Yeah.
So there's a lot of weird shit going on with the lore, but hey, that's not our thing.
Yeah, the covenants they all understand that they all have to work together and protect each other for the sanctity of the Shadowlands. But if you switch teams, dude, fuck you. No, no, no,
Yeah.
no. Well, we don't like you anymore, dude. Gotta recap your renown, you know?
But we
Wait,
still
it
need
is
you
like
to
what-
we still need you to help us save the world.
Yeah.
It is like Hino says, think of covenants like countries where you just have to you have to gain your citizenship. And then when you renounce your citizenship,
Oh
in order to get
no.
it back, you're just
You
like
lose all your social
you're screwed.
benefits.
Yeah. Man,
Oh my
that
God.
is I don't want to think about it like that, but that is
God
so
damn it.
accurate. Holy
But
crap.
dude, and that like covenant, like even that kind of goes along the lines of like the covenant idea of like there's these things and these continents or whatever, you got to choose one is like such a sick idea. That's actually so cool. And I'm glad that it's in the game. But then they make it so like it's super, super annoying to switch and like restrictive and blah blah blah. So they just add this one little it didn't exist and they added it in, this little restriction that just like made it worse. And that's like the theme of Shadowlands where you just have this amazing situation. Like even legendaries, dude. This expand like I really see this expansion as they took Legion and everything that was good about Legion and then they like fixed a bunch of shit that like people didn't like about Legion, like the endless grind, the random legendaries,
All that shit is
stuff like
dope.
that.
Yep.
Yeah,
All that shit
definitely.
is really
Legendary
good.
system owns. Like legendary system is super good this time around.
Yeah.
I am very excited for that
Yep.
portion of the game at least.
Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, it's like they have like crazy potential for this expansion. I don't know why. Okay, this is like a really bad segue, but it just came to my mind thinking about the AoE cap was the one of the things that I think is weirdly like most likely to get it changed, at least the hard caps, is people I saw some tweet, maybe it was from a developer or something, and they were doing old content and they like pulled the whole dungeon because it's old content and they can't die, and he was a ret paladin or something. And he would press Divine Storm and he could only kill 5 of the infinite mobs at a
Yeah,
time.
Yeah.
that is so funny, dude. Holy shit.
What's I
And-
think the route they're going with Ret that they just did recently with giving them a legendary that uncaps them, even if it's not like a lot of damage, it at least uncaps your class. I would expect to see some changes come like that in the
Well,
next
no
couple
one
weeks.
likes hard caps. Like that's like
Yeah, I
the
agree.
worst
It's-
fucking
it's-
thing.
It's awful.
Like make it 20%, 30%, doesn't matter. Like 10%, it doesn't matter. Just like when you're just like, all right, there's 5 and then there's none. Like that sucks
Yeah,
so
it's
bad.
awful.
yeah, that's
But I
definitely
can
the biggest-
imagine just going into like Skullomance and you're just running in, pulling the whole thing, and it takes you 3 hours because you can only kill 5 things at a time. That is, oh my god.
If they like change hard caps and cite that as like the thing, like they give that an example, like yeah, we don't want people to be spending hours doing transmog runs, so we're fixing it. Dude,
Yeah,
I'm with
I
you.
wouldn't expect that. I would expect that to be. I think they find a change somehow. I think like I keep bringing up the Ret legendary, but it's just an example of like you have to opt into uncapping it, and then they can tune accordingly. Like if they think it does too much damage, they can just make it like pretty weak, but something people can wear for specific uncapped situations, whether it be old raid farming or if you're trying to go bigger in Mythic Plus. Like
Yeah, that
Well,
I would
that
actually
makes sense.
expect to see that,
Yeah.
and
you
I think
you
that's a
you
cool
see that
workaround, I
across the
guess.
board with other types of abilities, right? Like it wouldn't be too far fetched to just give like I mean, I guess Rhett does have consecrate, right? That's not cap,
Yeah, well, it's
right?
mostly the legendary the Divine Storm legendary now. The divine that portion, the legendary portion of Divine Storm is uncapped. They hotfixed that last week, so like
Yeah.
you can opt into a legendary that uncaps your class. Which, if you're farming old content, you're doing a dungeon that's more trash heavy, is now like a good idea. And I think that aspect of legendary is pretty cool. Like giving you situational legendaries like that to work around your class's
Oh, it's
weaknesses,
awesome
whether it be
for sure.
caps or not caps. Um, is a good design decision. Now, whether or not they implement that on other classes, yet to be seen. I'm hopeful. I think that they probably will, but I guess we're praying at this point for that.
Yeah.
But
That's yeah. So your spec doesn't have to be uncapped baseline as long as it has some little avenue of like getting
Exactly.
there. Yeah, that's cool.
on the the whole legendary bullshit, did you see the whole 3 weeks before you can get a before you can get a legendary? Have you seen that?
With the Torghast changes, yeah.
That's
Um,
wild. I think it's good, so you don't have to kill yourself. You
yeah.
know, doing 50 plus Torghast runs in the first week after leveling on all your alts and shit. But yeah, but it's just a crazy change to throw on the community, like like
Out
a
of
week
nowhere.
before it comes out. Yeah,
Yeah, their timing's weird. Not like a lot of these things that came out in these interviews are all like they're all like good things,
yeah.
but they're just coming 5 days before the expansion launches. So it's like, what, man, what? Like you just
Dude.
told us this like a month ago, and it would have been fine. Like they're
Yeah.
good changes. We would have been
But
praising,
like all
and the
the
hype would
people
have
who
been
are
so much higher.
they're stacking up items, like different types of items to movement
Yeah,
speed and whatever. They spend hundreds of thousands of gold doing whatever, and they're like, yeah, that stuff's not going to work. Obviously, what do you mean you can't mount?
yeah,
So
Dude.
obviously you can't use these things. It's like, what? What are you talking
yeah.
about? It's never been the case.
Dude, that reminds me of the bonus roll thing. Do you remember when they like some interview or whatever came out and they were like, "All right, so yeah, as you know, there's no more bonus rolls in the game." And anyway, and we were like, "What? What do you mean? You just
Yeah,
got
yeah,
rid of
yeah.
them? What do you mean
Oh yeah,
as you
that was
know?"
ridiculous.
Dude, that was crazy when they were like, "Yeah, remember when we said that?" No. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what
Also,
I'm saying, like
why was the loot change discussed then? Like the change in how much loot drops? Like why was
yeah.
that not discussed then? I guess for anybody who doesn't know, mythic raid bosses are going to drop 3 pieces of loot now instead of 5. Uh
And no bonus rolls. So
yes,
you're at
and no
like
bonus rolls.
literally half the mythic loot that we've been getting, which is insane.
Yeah, in the
Also,
Wowhead article it has if a 10 raid boss existed, a world first guild would get 45 pieces of loot plus whatever they bonus rolled, and in Shadowlands now that number is going to be 27 with no bonus rolls. So it's going to
Yeah.
be
yeah.
like
And
less than half the loot.
yeah.
Which
That's
I
going
think
in.
is something that they're trying to go back to the classic way of doing it, right? That's obviously like inspiration that they're getting from it, making it less random. So, you're not going to get wasted loot, but when you get the piece, you're done, but it's going to take you a little bit longer to get the piece. So I'm not sure how I feel about it. I think we're going to have to see like how it plays out, how it actually feels when we're like trying to, gear our characters and shit like that. But the fact that Master Looter is gone as well is a little bit weird, or still gone, whatever, is a little bit weird. So it's like now trading things is going to be a little bit more difficult for like the alt runs that people are doing to try to gear up for things like that, like split runs. I don't even know if anyone's going to be doing split runs again. You guys would know.
Some
Yeah,
form of
dude.
splits we haven't. I don't think we got a definite on how many splits we're doing, Zax, but we're
Yeah.
definitely doing at least I guess 2, but maybe a third character as well.
Yeah.
Um
Doing too.
but yeah, I don't know. I think that like as far as like from a competitive standpoint, I think the change is like basically nothing because it's all relative, right? Like everybody's affected by it, so everybody's going to end up with
Mhm.
similar amounts of gear, and there's no like profession blasting this tier where you can just get yourself to be able to trade in many more slots than you should be able to because it like crafted from professions.
Yeah.
Um,
And with
but
the cap on Mythic Plus, you can't trade now because you would have
yeah,
gotten a piece in
exactly.
Mythic Plus and shit. Yeah.
But I think it's gonna make farm annoying more than anything. I don't think like the competitive progression rating is gonna be affected too much. I think it's just like finishing a character so that you can start bringing another character to farm to prepare for the next tier. I think that's gonna be more annoying
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
anything. I think like actually progressing the raid will probably be like there will be like no difference really because like I said, it's all relative to like your competition who are in the same boat.
Yeah,
True
Hino
that.
said that he's glad bonus rolls are over, and I'm glad all the RNG is over when it comes
Yeah, for sure.
competitively. Like I don't like that it's over when I'm in my casual state of mind, right? When we're done with progression and we're just going through done. Like I like gamble. I'm a gambling person, right? Like I like if you know like in raids and shit, we're always doing those little random gambles that we always do for gold and shit like that. I like doing Mythic Plus, having a chance to get something that's 20 item levels that I don't deserve above what I deserve.
Yeah.
And like I love all that shit, but not in a competitive scenario. So I'm glad it's gone because I'd rather the competitiveness of it be what it is rather than having to get, having to rely on luck to be able to keep up or to get your raid spot like you were saying earlier. Like having to rely on luck for those things really fucking sucks. But it's going to be something that is missing. That whole gambling scenario I think is going to be missing for from doing like Mythic Plus and things like that, getting the odd chance that you get a trinket that you don't deserve.
Well, dude, now that like loot is so rare, the gamble is gonna be: do you ever see that trinket? Do you
Yeah,
literally
true. Yeah,
ever? Does
yeah.
it ever drop? Yeah,
Oh
but
my god, I could
yeah,
think
like,
about like the King Goroth trinket back in. Oh, dude, I'm bringing it back, dude. Holy shit!
oh,
Where
what
like
the?
everyone wanted that damn trinket, every single caster, and
Oh
now it's
yeah,
only three's gonna drop, so you're not getting one. There's a
yeah.
chance that you just don't get one.
Oh, and no bonus rolls, so you can't even just like yoink
Yeah,
one
Yeah.
you
for your,
can't just
yeah.
roll it.
Oh my, dude, loot is gonna be hard to get, man. Which is like, if this is if this is the price that we have to pay, so to speak, for not having Titan forging, then like I'm willing to pay it at least to see how it goes. Um, but yeah, like it's gonna be slow. It's gonna be a slow roll to get to like complete your character, so to speak, because like that's one of the things that I was excited about. I think a lot of people were excited about is having Abyss list and being able to finish getting that Abyss list. And be like, my
Yeah,
character's
for sure.
done. On to the next one or whatever, and like feel like you're just like you're done. But then they I think this is how they're like stretching out that length that amount of time that's going to take. You can still be done, but it's just going to take a little bit longer than a month. Now it'll take 2 months.
Yeah,
Well,
I think people are underestimating the box too. I think the weekly vault having like as many
Oh
options as you can
yeah.
get if you're
oh
playing your
right,
character
right, right.
is like a
Yeah.
big change. Like just the ability to make it significantly more likely that your weekly chest is an upgrade l- speeds up the
Yeah, yeah,
gearing
yeah. That's
process a
that's the
lot, I
good
think.
gamble. That's like the fucking greatest
Yeah.
gamble ever. And I think that that's the best. That is the best weekly cash system ever. That's the best solution they could have ever come up with. Is what they have. I think that is a home run for
Yeah, they
whoever
nailed that
designed that.
Yeah, and
for
then the
sure.
news
They
the
nailed
news they
that.
announced this week too, because I was worried about people accidentally getting like last two boss stuff out of their weekly cache.
Yeah.
But they announced it until you kill Stone Legions and Denathrius on whatever difficulty your reward is, you cannot get their loot table. So
We were debating
you
that
have to
back and
kill
forth
those
on our
two.
channel. Like we didn't actually know how to take what he
Oh
was
yeah.
saying. It was a little weird.
Yeah,
So
because
I
it's
guess
like
is
yeah.
where is the post? Let me see if I can find the post.
Why are you looking for that? So Maudy asked, he was saying like, do you think that this might make it so that it takes longer to gear, which makes raids a little bit harder, which means that you will have to maybe, go into normal before you can finish heroic, then into mythic?
Ooh.
Or is it going to be like Legion where you got gear so fast still that you could just jump right into fucking heroic, blast through it, go right into mythic, and you're moving?
Huh. That's tricky because I don't know. I'm trying to think of how it's gonna go for me or like a player like me, where it's gonna be like like Mythic Plus. You go from leveling, and then you do the Mythic Plus, which gets you almost to heroic level, or like
Did they
pretty much
say?
heroic level.
Did they say
Um,
Mythic Plus is coming out before raids?
Well, I don't think they've announced exactly how the timeline is going to go, but I guess normally they do like heroic week. You're capped like halfway or whatever. It's if the cap is 15, you can get to 8 or 9 or 10 or something like that. You can't go all the
Okay.
way up.
It's
So maybe they'll do that.
typically been capped at normal raid item level, which is like +6s, +5s or
Oh, okay.
6s. Is
Yeah, that makes
what
sense.
it's been historically
So that's
every
before the
other than
raid
the
comes out.
first tier, other than Emerald Nightmare. I think they changed it after Emerald Nightmare where they started capping it so you can just get owned or like just outgear everything instantly. So that will be normal and heroic week. So Mythic Plus won't be
Okay,
open
okay.
until that week.
Okay.
And
So
then
it'll be
Mythic
Mythic
week, the cap will
Zeros
be
until then.
pushed up. Yeah,
So
exactly.
what is the Mythic 0 item level compared to, man, that's a bunch of random ass.
187.
Yeah, so a bunch of random ass like how's that going to work with, are you going to be geared enough to just blast through heroic is what I'm
I think a lot of people are
wondering.
going to grind honor and then buy stuff from the honor
Oh, right. Yeah,
vendor
yeah. Yep.
to get
Oh
gear.
no.
I'm pretty
Yep.
sure
Oh no.
I'm pretty
So
sure
Zax
slamming
is going to be
battlegrounds the first
digging that,
two.
dude.
Yeah,
Don't
I'm pretty sure
don't tell
slamming
me.
battlegrounds the first 2 weeks is going to be what a lot of people
No.
do. Yeah.
No.
Just to
I saw
have gear. I don't know how the gearing's I don't know how much gear you're going to be able to buy with honor on heroic week. Like if or if you can even gain honor the first, they might make it so you can't gain honor. I was actually
Oh.
surprised that it seemed like it wasn't restricted the first 2 weeks. But
Hmm.
if it's not restricted, you'll probably just bank up a bunch of honor and then
Because
buy like
think
a set of
about it.
probably 197 gear.
The
Oh,
way
yeah.
we were thinking about it is that you would have a legendary, you would have,
Yeah.
whatever amount of gear you would have. Now you're not going to have any of that going into heroic. And, when week 1, the last boss in heroic isn't always just a pushover. Sometimes it's overtuned. Like Jaina was a little bit overtuned at the time. So if you're going to be less geared going into something like that, it's going to be, it might be a little bit of a little wild ride. Like, especially for guilds that aren't as that aren't as like fine-tuned as a guild like Vision.
Yeah.
I think the mid tier and like lower end of cutting edge guilds will probably have a little bit of trouble early on, just getting used to it because it's different. It's like certainly different from how BFA felt.
Yeah.
Just because like so much of your power in BFA came from just Azurite gear, right? Like if you just had your Azurite gear, it's like okay, whatever. Like the fact that my other pieces are scuffed doesn't really matter that much. I'm still
Yeah.
pretty powerful in the raid.
And yeah, I guess like you'll be objectively in this raid at the beginning. I think like you'll be objectively weaker than in past tiers and expansions.
But you
Like
think
normally
that they're
you can
going to make
get
it so
pretty
that the raid is over for world first?
Oh yeah.
Tell them about your prediction, dude.
Wait,
let
wait,
them
let's
know.
hear
Wait,
it, dude.
well,
Let's hear it.
All right, so okay, I gotta come back. I had a thought, but okay, so yeah, my conspiracy theory, right, is because they did such a janky launch date where it's like Thanksgiving week, and that's weird, and somehow they're okay with that, and then that's gonna put in the raid real close to Christmas, which Blizzard is like apparently known for just entirely going AFK for 2 weeks over like Christmas break and stuff like that. It just cannot be reached. Which I didn't really know was a thing. We got what Mythic coming out on the 15th, and then we got a week that puts it at the 22nd is the next Tuesday, and then 23rd, 24th. Then we're looking at Christmas Eve, and I don't think anybody wants to be around at the Blizzard offices, and people don't really want to be raiding and blah blah blah. I think my conspiracy is that Blizzard will make Sire Denathrius die on the 23rd. No later and no earlier. That's my prediction is that Sire
That's
Denathrius
so wild.
world first kill will be on the 23rd. Place your bets, dude.
Let me just
that's my bet.
re-emphasize that he's not saying that the guilds are good enough and will come up with the strategies and that Blizzard will make sure that this boss dies on a specific date.
Yeah. They're gonna be like, ooh, okay, they're pumping, they're doing good. The 21st, all right, the 22nd, limit or whoever, they get a reset of gear. Oh shit! Turns out they don't get to get like half the loot that they normally do. So like wasn't that much of a power increase. Oh my god, they're still struggling on the Nathrius. Oh well, shit, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here over Christmas Eve, dude. Okay, just nerf last phase 10%. They're just gonna throw in their
Yeah.
little last minute nerfs, dude, I think. And they're gonna get it done on the 23rd. That's just my bet. Who knows? I don't know. I can't imagine, they don't I don't really. I guess it's like things that I want to happen, more than like what I'm really trying to. I'm starting with what I want to happen and then going backwards. But because I don't think they want like the raid to die before the reset because that's kind of whack and it's 10 bosses, so like that's kind of I
Yeah.
feel like that's kind of unlikely. So it's like okay, then you get the reset and it's like all right, well if it dies on the 22nd and limit gets a reset, but the like a European guild doesn't get a reset, it's like oh man that kind of sucks. So at least get the European guilds get a reset, and then it's like, okay, then we're getting into Christmas Eve. I don't know. That's just my low conspiracy. We'll see what happens.
I
This
think you're
race is
right,
gonna be
actually.
dope either way.
I think you're
What?
right, but not for the conspiracy reasons. I think
Oh,
Let's
I was like,
go.
I was like, what?
I'll take it.
this is the first tier in the Ian has a Costas era that they are going to have a good grasp on how geared characters are going to be. Like
Ooh.
there's
Oh
going to be
yeah.
like they actually can kind of know how geared we're going to be. There's no
True.
randomized corruption involved. There's no Titan forging involved. There's no Azurite traits that might be absurdly overtuned. Like it's pretty like granted there are a good amount of
Oh,
systems in
that's
this
so
expansion,
true.
but a lot of them are not active very like they're not very impactful this early on, right? Like you probably
Yeah.
have maybe one potency conduit, a low item
They're
level
hard.
legendary. Like there's not
Yeah.
like they could probably tune well, is kind of what I'm getting at. Because they know how strong we're gonna be, or they should know better than they've known the past 4 years how strong
Yeah.
characters are gonna be.
That's so true. Because everything there's been like uh uncapped, so to speak, things and like for every tier where it's like they just get 6 billion AP and Blizzard just didn't expect that to happen. Their neck is item level
Yeah,
4,000 and then it's like just out of nowhere they do mob souls 6 million times and just stuff like that. But here, yeah, in Shadowlands, dude, everything's hard capped. It's
yeah,
harder to get loot. The loot isn't even as good. Yeah, dude, that's a good point. Like they'll be able to. Well, I mean, they're balancing history. It's not the greatest, but yeah, I mean, if ever, dude, now would be the time for them to like accurately tune some bosses. That's
yeah.
so
I mean,
true.
to be fair, they've pretty accurately tuned in BFA. Like, it pretty almost dead on 8th to 9th day of Prague, the bosses died,
Yeah,
for
well,
all the tiers, right? It's like it's been pretty close to that almost to a T.
yeah, there have been heavy game-breaking bugs
Yeah, that's
involved, but yeah, I mean, you're right. And to be honest, like Nyalotha for how
I don't
ridiculous.
know about that tuning statement though, because when you have 3 healers and 2 of them are disc priest, I don't know if the DPS checks are there.
Well, I guess from a world first perspective, like we're talking like obviously I think tuning is when you can bring the best comp with the best players on the best comp, like I guess tuning maybe doesn't matter as much because these guilds are just breaking the game to make sure that they brute force the boss down, I guess. But
Yeah.
yeah, maybe that means the race will be more competitive this time or something because it's not just like if things are
Oh
tuned better,
man,
you know what I mean?
dude,
Like
I'm
maybe we have
so
some
hyped.
surprise
By the
spoilers,
way,
pieces swoops in or something.
about balance, like Ian thinks that the fucking game is balanced. Like he really
Yeah,
like in the interview, he
that
was
was a
like,
good bit.
yeah, the only reason why people like Brewmaster is because they're under geared at the world first, in the world first is that. So it's like, yeah, that's why they're stronger because no other tank can do that. What are you talking about? But he's like, yeah, it just trickles down, which there is a lot of validity to, right? Like the fact that like if someone that's playing something high up and it's gonna trickle down, obviously, but like he's like, yeah, you can literally play any class you want at any moment and be able to kill everything. And it's like that is true, but you're gonna have a harder time if you pick all the shitty classes.
Yeah, it's like yeah, he's saying like they have traits that favor early progression, but over the course of time, it like levels out to where every tank becomes like viable. It's like, "Oh, yeah, okay, like that's fair, but you still we don't exist in like a time vacuum, man. Like at the beginning, some of them suck. It's like, what are you gonna do? And it's the same ones every time. Brewmaster is never gonna be bad, man. You just have stagger, and it just fixes every problem that a tank ever has.
And it's like what it do. It's like that statement also says, well, Brewmaster stays the same. It doesn't. It also gets stronger, and it also just dies less no matter what, right? Because it also rises. And there is a point where it kind of flips, where the mitigation, like dodge, parry, shit like that, ends up catching up to the Brewmaster stagger. But I mean, I was a Vengeance Demon Hunter and Battle of Dazraller, and that didn't go so good.
Dude, I still remember when you tanked Mechatork and you're like screaming at the top of your lungs, I have nothing. Help!
Listen,
I
all right, so
don't
let
have
me
any
explain what was happening. Okay, I was geared out of my fucking mind on the Vengeance Demon Hunter, and there were literally times where I would call 10 seconds ahead of time. There's nothing I can do. He's gonna hit me fast, and if you don't taunt, I'm dead. And then I went on my 1 week old Brewmaster. And I swear to God, I had no problem. Not a single problem on a 1 week old versus a geared to the gills Vengeance Demon Hunter. It was insane.
Dude, and you know what? That exact thing will happen in Castle Nathria. That has not changed. Vengeance Demon Hunter is pretty good when you have buttons, but you run out of buttons.
Yep.
And there are gaps.
You don't run out of stagger.
Yeah, Brewmaster's just chilling, just cruising along, dude.
I think the good news for that though is that the purpose of Celestial Brew and the rework for Brewmaster is so that they have a tuning knob, because like
True.
in BFA there wasn't really like a tuning knob. There wasn't anything to do to Brewmaster. Like you just had 100% uptime on your mitigation, and that was it. Like that this is the class. Here you go. Now, while that's still true, because stagger's just happening all the time, you do have phases of being much tankier than your normal state with Celestial Brew. So I think they'll use Celestial Brew to tune that. Do I think they're going to do a great job at it? No, but I think it's encouraging that like a notable, distinct tuning knob has been put in place for that class to kind of tone down how strong it is if it overperforms again.
That makes sense, because it's like kind of like having a gap in your mitigation when you don't have Celestial Brew. But
yeah, exactly.
Actually, that just reminded me, one of the previous times that they added an absorb to Brewmaster did not go so well. Guard was a
any guarders in the chat, dude?
Yeah, that button was pretty good. And whenever they initially added Celestial Brew in,
it was guard.
It was broken.
It was 100% uptime guard is what it was when they first implemented it. There was Brewmasters there were guys like streaming Brewmaster gameplay where they were just soloing Halls of Atonement on like plus 15.
Out healing healers is insane.
Like, well, they would just solo. Like, if they set up their brews and they didn't mess up, they would just have 100% uptime on Celestial Brews, so they would literally take 0 damage for the entire dungeon, and they could just walk through all of halls without taking a point of damage.
God.
What is your thoughts on the tank balance right now?
I think the tank balance is actually pretty good. I think tank balance
I do too, yeah.
is more balanced than anything else currently.
I think it's also more balanced than it's ever been. When you like for the options that you have, especially the weaker tanks, I think do more damage, which is kind of like a nice little offset. But the fact that just the plain simple fact that Guardian is viable, that makes me happy.
Dude,
Guardian being viable is dangerous, though, man. Let us remember Legion. Let us remember the first half
you can
Legion,
fall asleep and wake up and a boss is dead.
Guardian being viable is a dangerous place sometimes. Because it got out of hand, obviously, with Marco Ursal and everything that they had, but I think Guardian's gonna be very good. Yeah.
Dude, the fact that they took away their most powerful mitigation that they had in Legion, and they were still the best tank. What?
Yeah. They just deleted it.
Imagine taking away Stagger and fucking Brewmaster's still great. Like what?
I feel like we're fine. Not to mention that, but they can go Necrolord and then change to the Necrolord Soulbind. Is even better for Guardian than any other tank with the 3% main stat and armor just on Bonesmith on that Soulbind.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yep. The buff to him. So an armor stacking tank that was already playing that Soulbind for damage without the defensive qualities now gets 3% bonus armor. So yeah,
it's pretty fucking wild.
Guardian stocks are rising, man.
Bro, that legendary they went from the bottom, now they're here, dude. Like it's so sick.
Yeah, I remember like what you made your Guardian Druid video saying like, okay, I know you guys are gonna disagree, but Guardian Druid can't die, man. Like I got buttons. And like you're like, yo, Guardian Druid, it's maybe simple, there's not much going on here. And they still got Lunar Beam, which they then deleted after the video because they watch our stuff for sure. Uh
Yeah.
and then yeah, they came out with that just over the course of time, just people have figured out like, oh shit, this Thrash legendary makes me invincible. Literally invincible during my incarn. Okay, that's cool.
The-
And then they nerf it. It's like, okay, a little more reasonable. And it's like, oh shit, Ironbark makes me invincible also with this legendary
yeah,
and this conduit,
yeah.
blah blah blah. Hey,
When you can have like it's like something like a 70% uptime on Ironbark, that's a little bit stupid. Like that shouldn't be in the game. But
Wait.
I think I think fucking Guardian is a snooze fest, but I love Guardian. It's gonna be my alt, and I think that I think the fact that it's viable and unkillable in Mythic Plus, and then it's also viable in Rage is just fucking fantastic, dude. And then you see the shenanigans that people are doing with switching to Boomkin and using
Yeah.
Convoke, and then what
and it's
the
not used
fuck?
if you're playing Moonkin Affinity. It's actually super engaging.
Yeah. I was
freaking
gonna
That is
say,
so wild.
I was about to
Yeah.
bring up Dorky, dude. Dorky has been doing crazy shit on the
Yep.
well, I was gonna say on the Boomkin. Well, I mean on the Boomkin too.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
he was like, I feel like one of the pioneers. I don't know about that, but whatever. He was blasting as Bear Crow,
Doing
but like
1,500 damage, man. It's
yeah,
like very
and
cool. Just
like
abusing the Necrolord ability. Like actually finding synergies in the Necrolord ability by having more dots so you get more value out of Necrolord, and then also the Soulbind being good. It's just like very cool. I think we're gonna
beautiful.
have stuff like that comes up a few weeks into the expansion where people kind of
Yep.
like solve some weird builds that haven't been really figured out in beta. Kind of like what I've been trying to do with Survival Hunter, where like no, there's underrepresented specs that
Mhm.
the good players just don't play them because the good players are going to gravitate to stuff that's historically good, right? You don't want to waste your time investing into something when you're trying to compete at a world first level or world top 10 or 20, whatever level you're trying to play at.
Right.
um it's not like I don't want to play that spec. It's like I have to manage my time somehow, and I have to try to to hedge my bets and pick what's likely to be good. But when
True.
prog is over, I think a lot of players will just start experimenting with stuff, especially players
Yeah.
that main like specific classes. Like you see guys like Shelly uh do that with Warlock, where he tries to make demo work once prog is over and figure out where demonology can be good. um a lot of the hunter players do it with either BM or marksman, whichever one's not good. Not so
Mhm.
much with survival, but
Did you
I
see
think you'll see
the
that. I think you'll see that maybe a
the
week or
new
two after the prog starts to end.
the new Twitch streamer Robbie Fortnite? Have you seen that guy like just crushing
Dude,
on
I've never been able to
survival?
catch him live. Every time he's owning, I'm also streaming, so I've never been able to like catch him doing his thing, man. I haven't been able
That's
to witness
wild.
it.
The infamous Robbie Fortnite. That's so funny. I was gonna say, whatchamacallit, like in your Guardian Druid, when you were talking about it and you were saying like one of the main things you wanted to see with Guardian Druid or Druid in general was that like affinities become more of a thing. You are a bear, but you also have access to some like Boomkin stuff, some resto
Yeah.
stuff, and you actually use that stuff. And I don't know if I've ever seen a better example of a tank getting threat, kiting, going into Boomkin
Yeah.
form, and like casting
Yeah.
Sunfires and shit, like whatever he's doing, like doing and using a Night Fae ability to like spam Moonkin abilities. Like that is an affinity if I've ever seen one. You know what I mean? Like that shit is
Yeah.
cool.
Dude, the funniest is like when the funniest is like you actually have to wait a couple seconds before you hit the boss when he's pulling a boss because he's opening in Moonkin form, so he doesn't have the threat modifier from Bear. So he's just like blasting out like a Starfire Star Surge combo, and if you instantly
Oh,
attack the boss, you just have threat because he's not actually a tank
Oh
when he's doing it.
no.
So you have to give him 2 seconds to get his freaking Star Surge opener off.
that's
Jesus
awesome.
Christ.
I was gonna say
Are they
a lot of
using
like
Heart of the Wild?
you-
I haven't even looked.
I'm not sure how Heart of the Wild plays into it. But potentially, I think most of it is just the dot amp from Adaptive Swarm that makes his dots just bounce like that, bounces around and causes all his dots to do more damage, and he gets an extra dot via Sunfire,
Yeah.
which is most of it.
dude, okay, and that brings me to my next point that I was thinking of is so part of what's going on in Shadowlands is instead of like instead of in previous expansions where you start out with like a base character and you have maybe one system and you work your way through that system and then they introduce another system, they start stacking them on top of each other, like especially what happened in BFA. In Shadowlands, they're just you got them all. You got them all right at the beginning. You might not have access to the full thing right from the get go, but like you got some synergies going on. You got soul binds and covenant abilities and legendaries and whatever new talents, new stuff, and that's actually allowing some pretty cool stuff right from the beginning of the expansion. Because normally at the beginning of an expansion, you get what you get. Survival Hunter is either good or bad. You can think about it for about 3 seconds, and you're done. You don't have to think about it anymore. This is the decision has been made. There's nothing to discover anymore. You know what I mean? But with this dude, I feel like there's something new being discovered. Like at least on beta, like every week. It's just like, oh, Fire Mage was the worst spec in the game and now it's the best spec in the game, and nothing changed. Like they didn't change anything about the spec. It just people found a build, and it's not like a thing that's baseline to the spec. They found
Hold on, are
a
you
trait.
saying that Blizzard is implementing something that's working?
Yeah, to an extent, dude. They're gonna nerf the
What
shit.
the hell?
But the fact that like Fire Mage baseline is terrible. I don't even know, but they just destroyed the spec because it was so crazy in Nyalotha. But these systems that we're getting at the beginning of the expansion, which I think is a good thing, are allowing it to have like this cool build where it has synergies, which is like the important thing between their legendary, their talents, their soulbind itself, and the conduits in the soulbind. Like all the systems are working together to create a build that is awesome. Instead of like you have one Azerite trait,
Yeah, for sure.
and it doesn't even center you, and you use like a generic one. It's like, okay, well, yeah, that's clearly not good design, and that even
right.
happened with Frost Mage too. Like having synergies between all these systems at the beginning is so sick.
I agree with that actually pretty heavy. Originally, I thought it was going to be a shit show that all these systems were coming in at once, and it still might be. But even if the first tier is bad because of it, I think it makes it so it's easier for them to make the rest of the expansion good, because they just have
Yeah.
to make all the systems better rather than have to make new systems to fix the initial systems, right? Like which is what they did in BFA, or what they tried to do at least. They can just expand upon the 3 systems that are already implemented into the game, to make them more engaging, or to add
Yeah.
more agency, I guess is the right word. So I'm
Yeah.
excited about that.
And something that was like confirmed again with this like Ian information bomb the other day is that tier sets are still planned to be a thing. Like they're designing tier set look, visual cosmetics. And he said, yeah, tier sets are
I'm so
looking like they're
excited
gonna
for
be a
that.
thing.
And
And
set
that's just
bonuses? Did he confirm set bonuses?
yeah,
As
yeah,
well?
I think
Okay, good.
so.
I figured
And
that
it's
was gonna
like,
be the case, because like last time we had
yeah,
him, the first tier, like Emerald Nightmare didn't have tier sets either.
right,
So I
right.
wasn't really worried that Nathria wasn't gonna have them.
Yeah, it makes sense. But it's just the fact that like we already have like an sort of like an end of Legion amount of systems, end of BFA amount of systems, whether they're as impactful as those or not, it is what it is. But now and then on top of all of these little potential little synergies you have, which are cool, you might also get a tier set that's going to change from raid to raid, which is like tier sets are I love tier sets.
I
That shit
can't
is
wait, dude.
way
I'm
too
so
cool.
excited.
Yeah.
That is the good
So
shit, man.
they got
And
options,
it's
and
gonna
they're
be
probably
wild too, with the whole conduits mixing with tier sets, mixing with talents, mixing with legendaries. It's gonna be fucking wild.
yeah. And they
Yeah,
might
good luck on balance, but like I don't care, because
Hell yeah.
I ideally like play every class. Like in a perfect world, I can keep up every class and I can just play whatever I want. Like that's how I enjoy the game. I don't really like maining anything. So do whatever you want with balance, Blizzard. That I don't care, as long as I can swap between different classes without it taking 2 months, man.
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
play whatever's the most fun every tier based on the tier sets, and that's like my dream for the game.
True
Same.
that, and that's a massive, massive, massive improvement in Shadowlands with alts. Like that,
Yeah,
that
definitely.
might be one of the most noticeable things that people come across. Is you can actually just have alts. It doesn't take. There's not really anything that's uncapped. You can kind of get done with your character and move on within like a reasonable amount of time. Which
And the
is
fact
awesome.
that like
And
the legendary means that, or the legendary system with the soul ash means you only have to do floor 8 and you get all the shit from the bottom. I fucking love it, dude. Shadowlands is going to be
Yeah.
so sick.
It has such ridiculous potential. And I was thinking about the whole alts thing. So I remember I was probably Max from Limit. He's talking about how and I'm sure all top guilds run into this. There's a sort of a roster effect, like the amount of people that you have on your team when you can't have alts. You have to have like you have to have like 4 warlock mains that like pretty much only play warlock. Like if you need warlocks, they have a warlock, and that's kind of all they focus on. They can't really have alts because you can't play an infinite amount on several classes. So you just have a roster of mains, and you have to have everything covered. So you end up having like 30 people, and you don't even use 10 of them in progression, which doesn't feel great. But now that we're gonna be able to have alts, he's saying like I'm gonna have to cut down the roster, dude, because like we're gonna if I have the best player in the world, he can pretty easily switch between like 2, 3, maybe 4 specs. Like they're all gonna be pretty up to date. So like I don't need to have like repeat mains as much. Because when you
like
have good
multiclassing
players,
is more valuable.
normally they can normally play different specs, and they're not light years behind because of some infinite grind. Which like I think like maybe sockets are there, and those aren't even an infinite grind. And they're sockets, and you can't even have them on all pieces anymore. So like, dude, alts. You might not even call them alts anymore, dude. For some players, you're just gonna have triple mains. They're all gonna be equally geared.
I'm so
My
ready,
other
dude.
character.
I'm
Yeah,
so
my-
ready for
yeah.
my rogue mage and hunter to all blast for the
Yeah.
entire tier. I'm
Yeah.
so ready.
It's
It's gonna be
sick.
dope. Did you guys
God.
what do you guys think about the whole when they asked him how long it's gonna take him, or how long it's gonna take for you to get caught up on renown? He says within a few days of gameplay, you'll be able to be at a point where you're like viable. I don't know what the fuck that even means, but then he says
Yeah.
you'll be optimal, a couple weeks after that. Do you think that that's like a good place for the covenants to be, or what?
I don't know. Like, I wonder if he's talking about down the line, like when everything's unlocked. You know what I mean? Like in 2 months from now, when it's like you have all the renown. If he's talking about that time where it's like, okay, I switch covenants, and then I have to get the entire covenant up, or if he's talking about like early days where you don't even have everything unlocked, so it's like doesn't take much to catch back up. Um, but I mean, I guess like that timeline is, it could be worse. You know what I mean? Like they could dissuade you more from switching covenants. I
It was
don't
a
know.
bit ambiguous how it's gonna work. Like I'm not even really sure what to take from that, because the way it was pitched early in beta was, if you put in the time, you can catch up on renown no matter where you are. Like you can just catch up instantly. But now the way it's worded makes it kind of seem like there's going to be some sort of time gate on catching up on renown, whether it's because you start late or because you swap to another covenant. So I guess we'll wait and see. That's something that, like, obviously I'm a little worried about, because I think the strat of picking a covenant early and then swapping to a different one late is something that many classes may utilize.
Which
But
sucks so bad, man. That whole that whole quote of a couple of weeks after you should be totally fine. A couple of weeks in progression is at
it's a
the end
long
of progress.
time.
That's way too
Yeah.
long.
Yeah, so
But
we'll see. Well, that's why I think the way it's worded, there's nothing like concrete has come out about renown from what I know. I haven't seen anything that's just been like, all right, this is exactly how it's going to work, and now I understand it. So I guess we're wait and see on that.
right, yeah, and it is kind of. I think he maybe elaborated a little bit more on it. It's talking about he like kind of explained how the catch up system works, where it's like the further behind you are, the faster you catch up from just doing random stuff that you were already gonna do. So it's kind of make more and more sense. You get 3 renown a week. Here's how you get it. But yeah, that system's a little weird. And for what it's worth, they're like talking about it taking a few days, couple weeks, whatever, to come back to being like optimal, so to speak. Um, for covenants and soulbinds, like we're talking about like pretty small differences. Like they've for I don't know if it's good at the end of the day, but they've been just absolutely crushing all of the benefits you get from soulbinds. effectively. Like they've just been making them all, trying to balance them, but making them all pretty small. So like even if you don't have a soul bind, you have your conduits, but you don't have your soul bind, you're really not that far behind. So like losing out on renown is like, talking about single digit percentages, which like if you're super performance minded, like that's the end of the world. But like it's like 1, 2, 3%, just missing out on a soul bind. Now that they're nerfing everything, like Pelagos, they just effectively damage wise deleted, the strongest part of Adam. It's just gone. So it's like, okay, they're really trying to hammer down like how much DPS gain you get from the soul binds alone. So, dude, I don't know how it's gonna work out. As a
I'm
mage,
cool.
dude, I'm confused.
I'm cool with them, nerfing things to get the balance right, as long as they can get the balance right. I think with the amount of systems that we have, there's enough customization so where we don't need everything to be 10% impactful, right? Like that would be wild if everything was 10%. Then it'd be really fucking hard to balance. But the few things that I'm concerned about is the soul binds when you're able to get your potency conduit. There's different times where you can get them. I think I'm not, unless they just recently changed them all to be the same, but there's different times. And then legendaries, some legendary patterns you can't get for the 6 week on a rotation. So it's like you might just not be able to have your best legendary. And those things are a little bit funky, like that the time gating's cool, but sometimes it's time gated to the extent where, like, if for Frost Mage, if you want the Frozen Orb legendary, if you kill Denathrius, it's not guaranteed that drops. So you might have to kill Denathrius a couple times before you get that legendary pattern. And that can just be that could just be a bad luck.
I'm pretty sure they're gonna 100% those. I think the world boss ones are weird though. Like the world boss ones are scuffed, but I think the raid ones they're gonna 100% drop rate.
Yeah.
Yeah, because from what I've seen,
So.
for whatever reason, some of the characters on beta get legendary drops and some of them don't. I don't know if it's like because of the class you're on or what. But for the ones that drop out of the dungeons on beta, for example, Cryptic Shaman has somehow gotten to a state where legendary drops are on his loot table, and they drop at the same rate that conduits do. So like when you do the content where it drops, like it just always drops for you.
Okay. Yeah, because
so I think that's what we're gonna do with the raid.
Because Ian said he wasn't sure about it, but that's what he said. Yeah.
Like the world boss is super scuffed. If they don't put those recipes somewhere else but world bosses and just have them drop from like multiple places, that's I think that's a very, very bad design decision. Yeah, because you're just on a rotation. That's just time. That is time gating your legendary. I think that's really, really bad.
Yeah, and they kind of thought about that kind of thing with conduits, because I'm pretty sure, so I'm just making it up, I think you can get any conduit from more than one place. Like if there's a PvP conduit or whatever, you can also get it from wherever. And I think that's how it is. Maybe I'm making that up, but I remember hearing that at some point. Beta makes conduits kind of confusing. But yeah, it'd be great it'd be great to, I don't know how many world bosses even are there? Are there 6?
Yeah.
Like having to wait a month to get my legendary, that would be,
it's awful. Especially if you like start up an alt like late for some reason. You're just like, I don't want to work on my alts till after progression's over, so I'll wait till week 5 or 6 or whatever. And then you happen to start like the week after your world boss is up for your legendary. And it's like, well, man, what the hell? Well, I'm not gonna play this class for this character for a month and a half now. Like,
yeah, that's wild.
Dude, oh man. I don't know which expansion I've been more excited for. I think I've still was more excited for Legion, because that came, I don't know. Are you guys? Where's the hype meter at for you guys compared to previous expansion?
I'll let you go first.
All right. I think the most hype expansion for me was Wrath, because it was my first real expansion launch. I played like at the end of BC or at the end of Vanilla, and then just kind of rolled into BC. So like that expansion launch wasn't crazy, but Wrath, I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna play a new expansion. This is absurd. And then I like lagged out in the Howling Fjord for like 9 hours straight before I could do anything. And then funnily enough, I think I was the most hyped after that for WAD. I think the intro trailers to WAD were
Oh yeah.
like insane, man. I don't think they've done anything cinematic wise that will surpass the Warlords videos that they did. And then Legion, and then probably this. I don't know. Kata was pretty hyped too. Expansions are always hype, man. Even
True.
BFA, I was like kind of hyped for. Even though I knew it was gonna be ass because I was playing beta so much, I was still hyped, man. Like it was still like, yo, I'm gonna grind again. Let's go.
Yeah. Dude, that's you just saying like talking about WAD. Yeah, I don't know what they did with WAD, but whatever they did with like marketing and the like the cinematics and stuff like that, like the Iron Horde leaders. I don't remember what their title was, but like yo, they crushed the Warlords like marketing.
Those trailers were so sick,
Oh
man.
my
They were
god.
so freaking cool. Although I think this expansion generally, like outside of me, I think this expansion is maybe the most hyped expansion ever, specifically because they pulled a gigantic base back in with Classic. And this is the first expansion launch since Classic. So like this base of people that left the game, they sucked back in, and now like
True.
those people are all now experiencing an expansion launch again, which they probably haven't experienced for like a decade or so. If they
Yeah,
left
because
after like the original trilogy.
this is the like what the most pre-ordered expansion ever, or whatever since Wrath, or I don't know how they say it. Like people are pre-ordering it, if that's a measure of hype. I don't know a better measure. But yeah, dude, I got my hopes are way up for Shadowlands, and I'm a guy who tries not to get my hopes up, so I'm
Yeah.
scared.
Yeah. So I played vanilla, and I was a youngster, went into TBC. I don't even remember that getting like announced or launched. I don't remember any of that. I played
It was
all of
delayed too,
TBC.
right?
I don't even
True.
remember. Literally, it's a blur. And then I go into TBC. I mature. I become a man, ripe age of 16, 17. And then I remember Wrath coming out, and I lost my shit. I was at midnight. I was at GameStop with my girlfriend. And like, we were waiting, got the thing, came home, weren't able to play for about fucking 10 hours. Then it just went straight ham all the way to, dude, it was so, Wrath was a giant fucking hype for me. And then Cataclysm, I had no hype for. And then I stopped playing all the way until Legion came out. Super excited for Legion. Not excited at all for BFA because I just didn't like the whole Horde versus Alliance. Like there was just no real threat, right? There was no like world threat going on. With that, and then Shadowlands, I am fucking so excited for. I don't know why. I don't know what happened or where it flipped, but when we started in alpha, we started playing alpha or whatever, I wasn't hyped at all. Like, and then like I started playing like Torghast, and I was like, oh, this is fucking good. And then they started making some changes that I was like agreeing with, and I was like, damn. And then they brought out the legendary system, and I was like, fucking hell yeah. And then they brought out the vault, and I was like, this is everything I ever wanted. And then like the minor little details was like PvP scaling is now gone, and like there's a PvP vendor. I'm like, all right, I'm in. I'm 100% in. Then we tested the raids, and dude, the raids are so good. Like the Nathrius might be the best raid boss ever designed. And I'm 100% in on this Shadowlands hype, and I've been trying to tell like people who haven't had beta or haven't been following it that like trust, like just give it like a month. If you like try this out for a month, I can almost guarantee that the first tier is going to be sick. After that, I can't guarantee shit, but the first tier is going to be great. That's what I think. I'm so excited for this, more than BFA, more than Legion, and just as much as Wrath for me.
Yeah, this expansion definitely has enough going for it that it's like it's worth coming back to and trying. I mean, I don't know, like I've been hating on this expansion nonstop, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of good and there's a lot of bad, but like it is worth trying. There's a big risk, Blizzard is taking like a big risk, like design-wise, with not being able to switch stuff. And maybe people hate that, maybe they won't. Maybe they got that from Classic, and dude, I don't know. Like I don't know what how this experiment's gonna go, but it's definitely worth trying, I would say. We get that question all the time, which is like kind of why I'm bringing it up. People saying, should I come back? Is Shadowlands gonna be worth playing? People ask that all the time. So I think at this point, I think it is, and we'll see after this first tier. It just has so much going for it. Like you said, like the
Yeah,
vault
4
is
days.
crazy. 4 days, dude. Torghast, dude. I don't think people are ready for Torghast. I don't think they understand. You know, they've been getting little sneak peeks and stuff, like people doing it on stream and like whenever it first came out. But dude, like when you get in there,
It's
Torghast,
nothing like you've ever played in WoW before.
You have never played Torghast before. It is literally a new thing in the game. It's like in Legion when they brought out Mythic Plus, and it was like, why didn't this exist already? This is sick. So
Right.
yeah, when you get in Torghast, bro, it's awesome. It's
I'm ready
sick,
for Torghast
and
because I haven't played Torghast since before Rogue had like any of their abilities. When I was testing Torghast, literally every ability was just a chicken that gave me 2% main stat. And there was like no anima abilities to test at all. And then I was just like, all right, I guess I'm just gonna play Mythic Plus for all beta because this is not working yet. And then just like never went back and revisited. So it'll be cool to see all the changes. Cause like when I'm looking through when the hotfix notes come out or the patch notes come out, there's always anima power changes. And I just
yeah,
like
yeah.
I just scroll
Always,
past
yep.
them. Like I don't even look at them. I just like so it's gonna
Yep.
all be a surprise to me
Same
when we
with
get into
us.
Torghast
Same with
Same.
us. We've been working
Same
like
here.
a ton, dude, like on the raid guides and stuff like that. You know, for how we're going to be doing all of our guide launches and stuff like that coming this week. And so we've been just working on dungeon guides and whatever. So we've had to like kind of overly do all the other shit. So we kind of like push Torghast to the side. And I just remember, dude, when we did Torghast and I was blade storming for 2 minutes straight at 300% movement speed. I was like, there's nothing in this game that has ever like done that. And it was so dude, it was so much fun. And then like you'd get some combinations that were pretty shit, right? Like you would be slowed, which they took out of the game. You'd be slowed for like the whole floor, which was fucking awful. But they took that out of the game, and then they're adding a whole bunch of things, and there was classes I didn't get to try, and I'm super excited for Torghast right now.
Oh yeah, yeah. They I don't know who made that. Whoever they hired to make Tor. Oh my god, dude.
That guy
This is gonna be
quit.
cool.
13 years. You didn't see?
Yeah,
No,
might have
just
been.
kidding.
Might have been. Like it's something that will inevitably get old, so to speak. You know, if you do something enough times, it's gonna get old. But it's also kind of built with that
I mean,
in
we're still
mind.
playing this game.
Yeah, true. Torghast is built in mind to be just like insane the first few times you do it, but it still is like randomized, entirely randomized. You know, you go in there, it has like some constraints, but like you're gonna you will have a different experience every time you go in there. It's not gonna be like a island or a warfront where it's literally just scripted one for one. You know what I mean? You know the timestamp of when this thing's gonna spawn. You don't know what you're gonna get, and that might keep it fresh for a little bit longer. And the fact that like yeah, like you said, you might press Bladestorm and now you're in Bladestorm for the rest of the floor. It's like that's sick.
So,
You
dude,
can't
it's
do
so
that.
sick. And then remember we were like doing it, dude. And there's this boss that we came up to, and the whole dungeon was kind of like slow for us, like getting through there. And he's like, "I'll take care of this." He fucking threw his heroic throw or whatever the fuck it was, and the thing just died. Like I've never seen that ever. He literally one shot a boss. It's like what?
Yeah.
I hope they don't tone that back. I hope they let things be absurd, right? Like it feels like it's
Yeah.
like the perfect content to just let it exist in its bubble and like just be absurd and have your
Yeah,
characters
so
do absurd things
Yep. I love
and
broken
let us have
shit when
fun
it
that
comes to
way.
that. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And I think they actually found like an interesting compromise sort of to accomplish that where like they can leave just insane combinations in the game where maybe it'll change for the like infinite one, but you only really do 12 floors at a time with like the layers and stuff for like to get the legendary stuff. So you can't you know your build can't just scale out of control because you have to leave after 12 floors. But in the infinite mode, I don't know. I haven't done it, so I don't know how many floors you get to do. But that might still be in there where your build just can ramp out of control and you just do crazy stuff. That'd be sick.
Last I had tested, they dropped each layer to 6 floors, and the infinite
Oh,
was 18. Was the last I tested, but this was a couple months ago.
okay.
So the long one was 18 floors, and each layer was 6 floors in like the
I,
normal stuff.
Do you guys remember when Gigi like killed the Terragru or whatever his name is? Like
Yeah.
he like actually like one shot the dude that's supposed to
The
be
guy that's supposed
like
to kill you.
yeah, like the reason why you leave that place is because this guy comes and eats you, and he was just like, nah, I'm just gonna one shot this guy. That was pretty wild. But since we are coming up on quitting time, make sure that you guys put in your questions, because we're gonna be closing it out here soon, in maybe like the next 10-15 minutes. So make sure, yeah, bring it. Let us know some questions that you have for Undad, for us, whatever, raids, Mythic Plus classes. Send them in.
Oh, okay. I got a spicy question for you on that, because I think I
All right,
heard
hit me.
I think I was listening to a take. I can't remember. It was a while ago. How do you feel? So I feel like with this beta specifically, this happened a lot. How do you feel about tier lists in beta or in the game or otherwise, and like their effect on the meta slash perception of the meta, like the community perception? How do you feel about tier lists? That's a big question.
I think that they are like the self-fulfilling prophecy of people that want to be told their class is good, basically. Like people just seek out the different streamers that play the class that they want to play, and they bug them incessantly until they make a tier list, and then that streamer is biased because they main a certain class, so they put that class higher in their tier list, and then they're just like, oh shit, yeah, my class is good, and they have no actual
Uh,
value. That's my I don't think I think most of the content creators or streamers and WoW that end up making tier lists don't want to make tier lists at all. They just get asked about it literally 100 times a day. So they like make some half-ass list, and they're just like, here you go. This is what's good. Good luck.
yeah,
And then that's it.
right.
Dude, you have no idea how much shit we would get when we were raid testing and we didn't have the damage meter up. Oh my god. It's like, bro, this is we're raid testing like super alpha raids and shit, and you're saying like, and you're trying to figure out like, why is this sub rogue doing 5 times the damage? I'm definitely going sub. Dude, that's not gonna be like that. Like, relax.
Yeah, I'm deciding
How-
right now. I'm playing sub.
Yeah.
And that happened even when, like, trying to make a guide almost for like what's changing in BFA for marksmanship hunter or whatever. Like this is what's changing. This is how it plays. These are like the potentials that it has. Not talking about numbers. And then like you get comments about like, yeah, but is it good? Like how much damage does it do though? Like is it the best spec?
Yeah.
I'm like, you don't know. I'm not talking about that, man. You can't. That's something you can't know.
Can't
And it's
talk
like
about it until even
yeah.
Mythic Week. Like changes are gonna happen between Heroic and Mythic Week, and you can't.
Oh, yeah.
You can't know anything. That was like I don't do a lot of YouTube content, but I made a video pretty early on in the beta talking about the Mythic Plus meta, and I tried to approach it from like not a numerical standpoint, but kind of just judging like, okay, there's 3 ways that the meta could move. It could be focused on healing, tanking, or damage, like how you're gonna push your highest keys. And based on what the tuning ends up being in those regards, this is kind of how I would expect the meta to shape up. This is good like utility stuff to look for in your comps. This is what could be strong. This is what's likely not strong. And I don't think I don't know. I wish more players looked at stuff like that, especially players that are getting into Mythic Plus, like just identifying why things are strong rather than just what's the strongest. I think that would help just a lot of people in the community in general. Instead of just like,
True
oh
that.
man, mage is meta, like let's go. Like the question should be not what's good, it should be why is what's good good.
Yeah,
I think
Zax
that
and I
helps
had
players improve a lot.
we've talked about this a lot, like if we're going to do tier list or anything like that, and ultimately we haven't done any yet because we think they're absolutely useless right now. But like if we did do it and then we ended up doing our class reviews as we were going, and we decided that like in alpha stage when we started our class reviews, like we're not going to talk about legendaries, we're not going to talk about conduits or covenants, because you literally cannot talk about those things without saying that, well, the hunter flare trap thing that gets lit on fire, like that thing is absolutely great right now, but it's like it's so useless and becomes so outdated that talking about that is just like really just useless. But we get asked it in every single video. We get so much shit about whether or not like this spec is the best or that spec is the best, or why did we not mention this legendary that's absolutely broken. Well, if it's a broken legendary, we're not going to talk about it because it's going to get nerfed. So it's like it's hard to have that balance of you want to give people what they want because that's that's ultimately what they're looking for is they want tier lists and they want to know if something's good or not, like for everything, for raid bosses, for raids, dungeons, all that shit. And it's a hard balance to find when you're trying to like not make content that is only for that, but it is what it is.
I think this beta cycle has been like way more active from a viewership standpoint as well than previous beta cycles. Like it feels like, and maybe it's because I've been more involved with it, but I think it's been because I was pretty involved in BFA beta as well. But it feels like something. I don't know if it's the effect again because like this expansion is more hyped, and we have a big player base from Classic looking to get back into retail with this. That there's just more people, like there's more eyes on the changes that it feels more overwhelming, all of the questions a lot of content creators are getting. But I think there's definitely something to be said there that there,
You see
it's just
Nagora's
this
video?
beta cycle's been hype.
Yeah.
What is that?
I noticed that too.
Nagura's video, you see that?
The one
Where
where
she,
she is like cosplaying as a tier
Yeah,
list
yeah,
asker
yeah.
guy.
Yeah. It's so
Yeah, your content
ridiculous.
owns,
She
man.
gives like the most thought out answer ever, and they're like, yeah, but is it gonna be good? It's like, oh, come on.
Come on. Which tier is it on? Come on.
That's so stupid. But I mean, we'll eventually make probably our like little tier guide versions of it. But like, you just got to make that. You just got to say it up front. That caveat of like, none of this shit matters until you see war. Like, wait until Warcraft logs, comes out, and then that's the best. That's it. All right. We're gonna switch over to some questions. Yeah. I'm gonna switch it over real quick.
Oh,
All right, I'm just looking at the first question, and then Zax, you can go pick out whatever one you want. Thoughts on Resto Shaman for rating? What do you guys think? First off, I think it's awesome. Shaman is one of my favorite healers. I think that the amount of damage they do, I'm a little bit upset that they took out the Jaina damage profile. But I think that they're going to be great, and I think that at least for Castle Nathria, with the amount of stacking that you're doing, is going to be awesome. I think SLT is like one of the greatest cooldowns ever, and so I think it's a super solid choice for anyone trying to go for healing. And I mean, Automatic Jack thinks that it's absolutely S tier for whatever that's worth, and so. Right now, I think it's a good option. Even if it wasn't, I still think SLT is always going to be something that is heavily needed for encounters. So that's what I think. What do you guys think?
Resto Shaman popping off. Stocks rising. Forcer.
It's risen
in all content, dude.
Yeah, I'm in agreement for sure. I think they've been sleeper for all of beta, but I've been playing with almost strictly a Resto Shaman healer for the past 3 months. On beta,
really?
And
so you got a good perspective on this.
I think they are and have been the best Mythic Plus healer for almost the entirety of beta. I think that Disc Priest gets overhyped in Mythic Plus every beta cycle, and then ends up just being like pretty good, like not bad but pretty good. And I think and granted, this could change with some more gearing. I think like Resto Druid needs some gear before it heals for anything, but right now, in my experience, in like 8 to 10 hours a day of Mythic Plus for most of the past 3 months, Resto Druid just doesn't heal for shit in Mythic Plus, and it's a big deal because a lot of fights have just like persistent AoE damage, and obviously the Pride mobs, which is the seasonal affix, which will be on every key, is persistent AoE damage. And the strength of Druid in Mythic Plus has always been they always have healing. Like they have healing for everything. There's no like you don't have to craft poles around them. They can just always heal. But Shaman is just better at that right now, I think. So look out for Shaman to be literally everywhere, I think, this first season.
That's fucking awesome. I'm super happy about that.
Yeah, that's sick.
And their damage profile is good. Like they don't pad at all. Their damage is purely priority damage. So that's really good for Mythic Plus. That's where your healer damage is valuable. Like Resto Druid spamming swipe is usually pretty low value, even though it looks good on the meters as far as like actually timing keys goes. But Resto Shaman lava bursting on cooldown is very good for timing keys because it kills the high health targets, and it's just like good damage. Even if it's less overall, it speeds up the dungeon more a lot of the time.
True that. Resto Shaman rising. Let's go. And then raid too, like you're gonna be stacked in this raid
Yeah.
a lot.
Yep.
And that's like just an innate advantage for them. But like on top of that, they're just getting better. It seems like even if you weren't stacked. So rest of Shaman, be on the lookout for show. I got a little raid check pool question here. When will all the guides be 100% done? So for those that don't
Well,
know, we're making raid boss guides for Castle Nathria, and they are done right now.
yep, they're
Doing
done.
Yeah, we're doing little final edits, videos, doing little final edits to the videos. And they are available right now, early access to our patrons. You can get the guides right now, but we're also going to be releasing them to the public next week, actually, like starting on launch day, well, from the US, on the 23rd. We'll be releasing 2 guides a day to the public. Everybody's gonna have all the bosses by next Friday, all 10 bosses ready to go. And hopefully you like them. Let us know, dude. But yeah, they're done, ready to go. Written guides or like written versions of the guides on Icy Veins too. They're already
They're
up
already
and ready
there.
to go.
Yeah.
Already there. You can already check them out. The written versions, which maybe we can link them or whatever. But yeah, join the Discord to see all that good stuff. But
Yep. Yep.
raid
Yep.
guides done earlier than you've ever seen a raid guide in your life, dude.
And it was a lot of work because when Blizzard
Yeah.
changes a boss after you've completed a video, fuck.
Yeah, when they test a boss 6 times and they change every ability on the 6th time. It's a struggle, dude. Yeah, that's ready to go.
So Dad, after people get their legendaries, do you see them running Torghast still?
Oh yeah.
Probably, especially if you multi-spec. Like if you play different specs and you want to try stuff. I think so. I know I will. Like, there's legendaries that I'm gonna play just because they're good, and then there's legendaries that I'm going to continue to try to get because they're fun. And then the same with Torghast. Like Torghast is just going to be for fun on the side. Like I think it's actually,
Yeah.
I think Torghast is actually a godsend for people like me that play the game constantly, but don't always have a group to play with. That I can just hang out in Torghast while I'm waiting
It's great.
for things to do. So I think people are gonna enjoy Torghast quite a bit.
Yeah, I feel that way too. And the fact that like there's a bunch of legendaries you have to can get. You have to upgrade them with the ash from Torghast. So if your goal or whatever is to get all upgraded legendaries, it's gonna take you a while, and it's time gated, so you're
Yeah.
not like grinding it, and it doesn't actually take that long. You don't Once you get the layers unlocked, you don't actually have to do that much every week. You have to do once you get the 8th layer unlocked, you have to do 2 Torghast runs every week of 6 or whatever floors it is now. Which I don't know, take you less than an hour, you know. So you
Yeah.
do that, like you're gonna be cruising. It's gonna be great.
I'm
It'll
gonna
probably depend
tell
on
you.
gear.
Oh,
Probably
go
somewhere
ahead.
between like 45 minutes to an hour and a half, somewhere in between there to get all your shit done. Which owns. It's like if you
Ooh,
only had to
that's
do
good.
one vision a week, and that
It's
was
so
it.
sick.
So
And
good.
it was
I'm
not
gonna
visions.
I'm gonna tell you this is that me getting my legendaries doesn't add or take away from me doing Torghast, because I'm going to want to see Torghast on every single one of my characters just to see the broken shenanigans that can happen. So over over however long it takes to do Torghast on every spec eventually, like I'm just going to do it because it's going to be fucking awesome. That's first and foremost, and then obviously you're going to have to grind a little bit to make sure that you get the legendaries you want, the dust that you want, ranks that you want. But I'm gonna do it anyways. I'm just gonna be doing it. So I think that's a lot of people are gonna find out when they jump into Torghast that it's like it's not islands. You don't do it because you're forced to do it. You have to do it for a little bit of time, but you're gonna want to do it even after that.
That is very true. Yeah, it's weird. Like I want to play like Disc Priest and Torghast, and I don't know why.
Yeah, like the
fact that
weird
you
shit,
can.
right?
It's like you can play whatever you want. It's probably gonna work out, and you can play with groups. Like you don't have to do it by yourself. Like, dude, there's so many options, man. Torghast is so sick.
All right, so here's a
oh,
good question that we haven't gotten, but I think Zach's is gonna have a good answer for this. For high pop servers, do you guys think war mode is a good idea for starting off, or keep it turned off so you can get ahead of the pack without having to worry about fighting and shit?
so I don't know the answer. I can't see the future. But I strongly what I'm gonna do is not turn on war mode. Let's put it that way. I will not be turning on war mode, period. I don't care what time advantage you get. That is gonna be because okay, think about it this way. We haven't had an expansion in a while, maybe ever, where the starting zone okay. The starting zone is the same for both factions.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is going to Bastion. Everybody, literally both factions will all be in Bastion. If you're in war mode, it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be insane if you're in war mode, regardless of whatever experience bonus you get. You will be slowed down by people by war mode alone, and there's gonna be like world PvP happening, which for some reason just lags the crap out of Blizzard servers. So like you're just gonna be more laggy than you would be in non war mode. So I mean I recommend, I'm not gonna be using war mode, but there's a chance that like I mean, what is it, like 10% if you're horde or something like that? Like you might get a little boost. You might go flying past. But also, you have to complete every single campaign quest to even like start doing max level stuff. So like getting to max level along the way is like not going to help you at all. So I don't know. I wouldn't recommend war mode for leveling, but who knows?
I will be turning it on and hunting down every single person that I see.
Oh god. Do you get experience from killing other players? You might be level 50 for
I'm
a
going to get a
while.
good experience. I don't know if it's going to help my character.
I think if you are in a group and you're horde, turn it on. Otherwise, play at your own risk. I think Alliance are going to get clapped. I think the Alliance has had this lull where they don't remember what the beginning of BFA was like when all of the like the top guilds and horde had war mode turned on for the rep bonuses and the experience bonuses and everything. And there was just like there were forum posts like hourly from Alliance players just being like, "War mode, I can't even turn this on. I can't turn war mode on. I'm just dead. I can't turn war mode on. I'm dead." And I think that is going to repeat itself. So I
Well,
think if
now
you
don't
are
they
an
get
Alliance
that
player,
crazy bonus now? Like this is the
they get
first expansion
30%, but what does
where that
30% do when you're just perma dead? Like I don't
yeah, yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? Like I think the faction imbalance is too much of an issue for Alliance players to have a good experience leveling up with war mode on. If it is the same as how BFA was. If somehow they've done
Yeah.
a better job with sharding to make things more equal, then sure. But yeah, if I wasn't in a group, I would not be turning it on. But I intend to level in a group to make
Yeah.
things faster, and in that way, like because I'm in a group, I'm more likely to not be slowed down by war mode.
Yeah, that makes sense for sure being in a group. And speaking of like the alliance bonus, the people who like always go for like world first max level or whatever, like Gingy and whoever I think he's gotten it the past 2 times, they are like leveling as alliance. So like faction swapping to level as alliance with war mode on with the 30% bonus or whatever. Like in a group. So maybe they'll make it work. But I just maybe that works out because that's like it makes a lot of sense to get 30% more experience or whatever. But that might backfire real bad for them, dude. Like just getting
Oh,
I
I
chain
bet
think
they
they
hire
know
points.
that.
bodyguards. I think they're gonna hire
Yeah, I
bodyguards.
think so
Like no
too.
Oh
bullshit. I
shit.
think there's good people that find like on alliance with them that are just like protecting them.
Um
Like no
No,
no
I
need.
legit think that's seriously gonna happen, and I think they're gonna have the 5 of them, plus they're gonna have a group of other people that are just like waiting for someone to try to like fuck with them. But as soon as
Yeah.
they get like
uh,
past the first 2 levels, then they're on their own, right? No one's gonna be there.
Yeah, if they can get once they get a lead, they're fine. Like that's the thing with world first leveling. Like once you get a lead, it just becomes so much it's way easier to keep a lead than it is to catch up and surpass the guy that's in the lead just because
Yep.
you
yeah.
have first access to all the quests and everything.
It takes
Makes
it's
sense.
so the fastest time right now on Shadowlands is 5 hours and 30 minutes. That's
Oh my
wild.
god, Jesus, what the
Well, if
Yeah.
it
all
weren't for
right.
you could actually they might skip campaign stuff. I don't know what their plan is because if you just grind mobs, I'm pretty sure you can do it in 3. Grinding mobs is actually faster
Whoa.
than questing,
Oh.
but
Yeah, I've
you
heard
don't
like
get anything. You have to do like you know what I mean? Like you have to you're
yeah,
max level, but you literally can't do anything because you have to do all the campaigns. So I think
yeah.
the legit fastest is within that 5 hour range for sure.
I've heard even like doing dungeons is technically faster, which is like once you've leveled your first character, you can kind of do maybe a different route. Once you have the different leveling path, but dude, 5.5 hours, jeez. Okay. I got a good last question for us to end on here. Will you guys take time away from leveling/gearing next week to do the podcast? I think so.
Hell yes. Hell, we're
I think
doing the
so.
podcast every week, unless I have
Yeah.
another baby.
Yeah, only exception, Jim has another kid. Yeah, I mean, we're planning on just doing the podcast every week. Hopefully we can get guests and stuff like that. And this expansion is supposed to be non-infinite grindy, so we should have time. You know what I mean? We should be chilling, even like during raid progression and stuff. Unless Vision's day rating on a Friday, which you never know. Yeah, we'll be there.
It would be
Podcast
cool in
every
a
week,
couple
baby.
weeks to get Dad back on and see, like a month from now, and see like, all right, how did it pan out? Were we right? It would be cool
I'll be down for sure.
to do that again.
Yeah.
I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised by how chill these first 2 weeks are. Also, like people that haven't
True.
been paying attention to beta and are just kind of like going in semi-blind. I think going to be pleasantly surprised by how it's just like, all right, I leveled up my character. I got like a couple hours of shit to do, and then I guess I'll level another character. Great.
Yeah, it's gonna be
That's your
so
week. Like
good.
that's like
Oh, it's gonna be so good.
it's gonna
Oh, and
surprise a
only
lot of
having
people.
only having a 2-week turnaround on the raid is gonna be so sick, dude. I was getting so tired of that 3-week turnaround, man. This is gonna be dope.
Yeah, I'm ready, man.
Super hype.
All right.
Yeah.
So, hey, Undad, thanks for coming on the podcast with us. Check him out at UndadTV on Twitch, right? And then it's
That's right.
Sad Dad on YouTube.
That's right. That'll be changed eventually,
Perfect.
but not in the near future, man. Like that'll be a long time from now. Someday that'll be changed.
Hell yeah.
Super good conversation. Obviously we do these 3:00 on Fridays, and then Saturday we post them for everyone to see. I didn't post last week's, but it'll be posted this week. Any last words, guys?
I just thank you guys for having me. I had a blast. I love doing stuff like this. So like you mentioned, maybe coming back after progression's over and stuff. Like I would be totally down. Just have a chill Friday afternoon with you boys.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for coming, dude.
Yep.
All
Thank you
right.
guys.
See you guys later.
Bye-bye.